Hello and welcome to our live stream of Curse of Strahd as presented by For the Love of Crits. I'm level 1 Dungeon Master Hunter AU. Thank you for joining us as we continue with our hubbub of holy men as they journey deeper into the mist of Barovia. For maps, we are using Tailspire, new early access program available on Steam. For music, I'm using Sirenscape, an online program that allows us to sync our audio so that we can all enjoy the same soundscapes. In this world, for the Tailspire maps, I'm using a mix of different sources online. The most common and most prevalent is Demongund, creator of Tailspire maps with a focus on Curse of Strahd. Tonight, we're not going to be doing as much intros, or as much of a prompt as just naming our characters so we can kind of get right into roleplay. There's a lot to happen to Vallaki, and so we'd like to get into that so that we aren't dragging it out too long. So without further ado, we'll start with Garion tonight. Cole, you're going to be on deck.
Yeah, that is I, Grand Mage Garion, or just Garion, playing our good old amnesiac cleric of the grave domain Graves. Yeah.
Okay, Cole, and then Josh, you're on deck, followed by Alex.
My name's Cole. Sometimes online I go by Elok Leakim. I am playing Konerith, the silent cleric of Twilight domain.
My name is Josh. I am playing Onyx, our Warforged cleric of the Tempest domain, as well as a fighter.
Yes, if you guys have, I don't know if anyone else has multi-classed yet. We're only level 3, so if you have, feel free to mention that as well.
Well, yes, that leaves me, Alex, known on the line as Barotheus. I play Herbert Lightforge, the builder, forge cleric, aspiring inventor that he is. Forge domain cleric.
Thank you. Okay. And as always, content of Curse of Strahd, which was created by Wizards of the Coast, is notorious for being a campaign with very dark genres. For that reason, we do intend this program for mature audiences as we use adult languages and themes. Viewer discretion is advised. We thank you again for joining. Again, we ask you keep the chat civil, keep the chat and comments to avoid spoilers for Wizards of the Coast adventures. We are going to be going through a recap as presented by Onyx to bring us up to speed with the Lost Clerics of Barovia. And please, for the love of crits, like, comment, and subscribe.
So you see Onyx walking the streets with Herbert on their way back to the cathedral. Onyx is quiet, thinking to himself. Since we've been in this town, things are weird. First, the guards all wear masks and always say, "All will be well." That's clearly not normal. Something is going on. We did make it to the church and talked with Father Petrovich. Before going in, though, there was this odd gentleman staring at us. He had a weird arm. Not quite sure what that's about. Talked to an old lady. I'll focus on that later. Either way, talking with Father Petrovich, I was curious why they still follow the Morning Lord when clearly he has not protected them from the monster that is Strahd. When I made mention of this logical observation, he seemed to get uptight. I mean, I've seen what Akkadi can do, but the Morning Lord clearly hasn't done anything for these people in quite some time. Shame that they aren't reasonable. It may be their downfall. I did try talking with Father Petrovich again, this time steering clear of the topic of our beliefs. I wanted to know why this town is different from the rest. Why the guards are the way they are, why Strahd leaves this town alone for the most part, and what is up with all the dang festivals that are mandatory to attend. He said he wanted to talk about it privately, but then got upset when I tried to clear the room to give us the privacy. I guess I still have a little bit to learn on mannerisms. Well, since the father didn't want to talk, I was getting antsy, wanting to do something, so I saw this older lady leaving the church. I know that older woman should not travel alone, as they are easy targets for thieves. So, figured I'd follow her home, make sure she arrives safely. Plus, this would give me a little time to inspect the city and its residents more. Maybe figure out what's going on. She is an odd lady, though, and definitely shouldn't be left alone. She hobbles along slowly and even walked in a circle, heading back towards the church. Right before Herbert at least stepped up and helped her focus her mind. We got her home safe and sound, and she did invite us in. She explained that her son is usually there, thank God, because we really don't want to leave this woman alone. But he recently got arrested for saying something bad about the Baron. She pleaded with us to try to talk with someone to have him released if possible. This town does not strike me as one that will have a pleasant conversation to release her son, so it looks like I get to scout out the jail. Finally, something I'm good at. I have done things like this before, but usually the towns are smaller. I wonder what the others will come up with for an escape idea. Maybe Herbert can make a bomb to blow up the front gate. He's good with crafting things. Or maybe Conereth can get in the minds of the guards and distract them as we sneak by. Maybe Graves... Well, I'm not sure what Graves will do. He still is a puzzle to me. I did bring it up to Father Graves to Father Petrovich that Graves has no pulse, and the father looked as perplexed as I am about the condition. I wonder what happened in his past that caused this to happen. I mean, I haven't seen any fangs, so I guess I can rule out a vampire. He doesn't stink, so zombies pretty much ruled out. A lich, maybe? Gonna have to keep my eye on that one. Oh shoot, Herbert's talking and I have no idea what he's talking about. Guess I can ponder these things later tonight.
Well, you see, they build these drainage canals on the sides, so that, if the rainwater gets mixed in with the soil, it can cause a lot of topology mix-ups and whatnot.
Oh. Okay.
Really quite ingenious, frankly. But something that a lot of people just take for granted.
So the water just goes in the ground like normal.
Well, it goes in certain channels, and then it diverts down into the sewer so that it doesn't, make your roads unlevel over time.
Oh. Why do we not have these out in the countryside?
They're very hard to build, and you do have to maintain them, so someone would have to go out and do it. Not a lot of people that can do that.
People are lazy. Got it.
I mean, typically you need a lot of money to motivate people to do things like that for you. Kind of how the world goes round. At least, not sure how it goes around here.
Is it just me, or is this town strange?
Oh, very, yes. I mean, about the only thing that seems normal is the infrastructure. I don't trust this whole lying to your face sort of, all is well sort of thing.
Same.
It's clear that not all is well. But
Yes.
I suppose we'll have to see for ourselves.
Herbert. As you say that, it's clear that not all is well. That phrase strikes a chord in your memory. And you remember the reading that Madame Eva had given you.
Oh. Don't have that pulled up right now.
Let's see. She said, "There is a town where all is not well. There you will find a house of corruption, and within a dark room full of still ghosts."
So
It's
that
not
might-
until you say this sentence out loud that you make this connection.
Oh, I was wrong. I was thinking it was the Durst Manor. First reading might have been out here. Well, what does that mean?
And then Herbert gets lost in his own mind.
Yeah. Herbert starts muttering to himself, like Meteor, like Deku from My Hero.
So Herbert and Onyx, you guys were kind of wandering the town after speaking with the um, the shoemaker's mother. Let me pull this back up. Let me switch up our music a little bit so it's a bit on point more so. Go. Okay. Looks like everyone's in. The only one that is not is Alex. Or
I'm on a
Herbert.
different board.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay. And I'm pulling you guys all over to the same board that Alex was already on.
Where we were last.
So right now, Onyx and Herbert were
There.
just outside the cobbler shop.
Yeah.
Right over this area somewhere.
Yes. Way the fuck on the other side of town. You guys were doing your own thing in the
It's not-
church.
Not way on the other side. It's only halfway on the other side.
Yes. So
Oh,
you
true.
guys, were you guys doing anything along your way back to the church, or were you kind of just making a beeline for it?
Just
It's late, so I think we were headed beelining for it, right?
yeah.
Okay, yes, it is quite late. There is, as you're walking by, you do see a few, um, like there is like a few like taverns and things that you pass by. Um,
I'm not saying that Herbert might not get distracted, but he's trying to beeline it.
so, actually, on your guys' path, you would not actually pass a tavern, on your way back. So we're actually going to go back uh, to Graves and Konareth, who are right now kind of engaging in conversations within the church itself.
Yeah. Konaris probably wasn't having while Graves did, but Graves happened last session, and at the end he left the church.
Oh, we're switching.
But
Yes.
Konaris would probably happen like during that, I imagine.
Okay. Okay, and Konareth is in the back room here. He has decided to assist the young altar boy as he is cleaning dishes. You had heard this altar boy's name. It was yet of course it just
I did not read it. I was not there.
no
If
worries.
we tab Yeska.
Yeska. Oh wait, yeah, that's right. I named
Yeah,
the
both-
tokens to
yeah,
make it a bit
both have,
easier. So,
Mm.
um so Yeska is in here washing dishes. Um in here now, Konerth, you haven't actually communicated with this boy yet, as you mostly or you only communicate telepathically. Um how do you broach kind of like assisting this young boy? Do you just going to go in, start washing dishes? Do you communicate sign language?
I'd probably just go in. Hindsight being what it is, I should have picked sign language as a language. We were talking about that, I think, like last week or something, and that would have been a sensible language to pick.
Honestly, I
Um,
would allow you to have that as a language because majority of your life you have been
Mute.
mute,
Mute.
and you understand that some people do not. It would be logical for your character to have that as an adaptation. So, I would be okay with you just kind of taking that as a free language. Of course, other people would not understand it freely.
Yeah, it doesn't always mean that everyone knows.
Correct. You can teach other people sign language. So if you're ever out of range to be able to talk to them, but it would take time.
Um, so I'd probably go in, do like kind of a simple sign indicating that I'm there to help. See if he seems like he's going to reciprocate that at all. Or
Um,
understand it.
he would kind of look at you, and he's scrubbing a pot right now. Um, so he's like, "Did Father send you to help?" I'll have to have you voice your signals because I can't really see your video.
I just kind of did like a kind of, like where you kind of wobble your hand, like kind of.
Okay, well, I don't usually get help, but if you can get the heavy stuff, that would help. And he kind of looks, and there's a lot of heavy cast iron pots and pans. Um, he's like, I can get the bowls pretty easily, but the heavy stuff is more difficult.
Gonna have to just smile and move in to start working at the heavier things.
Uh,
Just
now,
kind of in.
for
When,
just the
when
knowledge of, oh god,
he takes off his gloves
oh, okay,
because he's working with water,
yes.
um, and rolls up his sleeves and starts cleaning.
Um, so one other question: do you get like, do you take off any of your armor or your weapons?
Yeah, I probably would have set them down.
I'm
I
guessing that
almost,
would be before you roll up your sleeves and stuff.
yeah. I wouldn't have like taken off all my armor, but I would have at least like set my warhammer and my shield aside and like a couple of the easier things to take off. Probably pulled back my cloak, my hood, and
You set down like your warhammer and shield, you would see Yeska's eyes kind of rest upon them. Um, as you set them down. But as you take off your gloves in preparation to cleaning, his gaze would immediately switch from being focused upon the hammer and shield to being focused upon your hands. Um, and he kind of he would likely notice that you notice him, and he would immediately go back to scrubbing um the pot that he was working on.
Kunareth wouldn't draw any more attention or anything because it's he clearly he probably doesn't understand sign language, and even if he does, it's not necessarily a conversation worth having. So he just kind of
Yeah.
move on. If he notices him staring, he wouldn't give him a hard time about it.
Yeah. He would be scrubbing, and probably 2 minutes of, for you, very peaceful, but for Yesik, very awkward silence passes. Um, that you're just kind of enjoying the silent menial labor that reminds you of life in the monastery, where life was simple, where you didn't have all of these ghosts and demons and zombies to deal with. That was just monastic, simple life. That silence is broken when Yesik speaks up, and he's like, So what happened to your arms?
Canary kind of awkwardly like kind of rinses the suds off his arms. And signs accident basically to see whether or not he understands that.
Me, I know.
Someone's having a really hard time in the background there.
Right?
He does not understand at all.
Okay.
He's like, kind of like looks at you confusedly. I'm going to pull up Discord to my side so that I can see what you're doing, so I can interpret what he might be thinking. There we go. So luckily, I don't need as much notes for this conversation because I kind of have an idea of where going. He's like, he kind of looks down and continues scrubbing the pot. And he's like, "Sorry, I probably shouldn't have asked. Milivo's always telling me to not ask so many questions."
Gareth is really torn as to whether or not he should just start communicating with this child telepathically. He just kind of motions like trying to make a face like it's all right.
How long have you been mute?
I think we had done that. It's been about 15 years, I think, since it happened.
I believe that was the number.
So just like
15? Like years? Wow. That's a really long time. Could you talk beforehand? I don't think I've ever met anyone that's mute before. Not anyone that's not just a simpleton. And you don't seem like a simpleton. You seem smart and you seem like you can fight. And he kind of looks over at the hammer and shield.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, the like I can somewhat fight. He's like, are you gonna look into what happened to my friends? I know the last holy people came in, they helped around a lot, and I didn't know if you guys came to help with that. Well, I'd like it if you did. I kind of miss them. But
So hard to communicate without talking. Kunair, because his hands probably by this point are dry because he stopped for a moment. Just kind of puts his hand on the boy's shoulder and gives him the best reassuring nod that he can.
Did the party know there were kids in problem?
Not yet.
Okay.
They will.
Apparently, we do now.
Yep.
We as in a single one of us.
I was just making sure I didn't forget a note.
No, you
from
did
last
not.
time.
You did
Okay.
not. This is new knowledge.
Okay.
Yesik, you can tell like he looks kind of comforted by. I imagine you almost having a face of like Hulk handing the taco. They're just trying to be like super reassuring, but it's just like,
I don't know, like, just to reiterate on appearance, because like Onyx stands out for sure, but and Gravestand, honestly, Herbert's the only normal looking one in our group. Because, like, don't forget, Konarith is like extremely pale with like glowing golden eyes, just because it not. This isn't my own flair of description. This is the Kaleshtar, what they look like. So he looks very kind of alien
Otherworldly.
already. Yeah.
Yes.
Graves only looks weird because he's much more pale than normal and has
Yeah,
like
just
he's
really
dead.
eyeliner and like lipstick and such.
Because
Yeah.
he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Pretty much. Yeah.
kind of
I
sort
mean, he's
of.
not
I
alive.
don't know.
No blood circulation.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert, he's a normal looking guy, but like his getup is pretty strange too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We're a
But-
D&D party.
But I like to think for Konarith's eccentric appearance, uh, based off of how passive his character has always been, his personality, that anyone with an ounce of intuition can sense that he's a calming personality.
Mm. Um,
Even just the way he carries himself is quite meek.
I could see that.
Like shrunken shoulders, like uncomfortable.
So Yeska is continuing to he kind of has finished the pot that he's been working on. He's going to move through and he's kind of boiling some water in the corner. Um he's going, he's like, did was it hard to learn to fight? Hmm. Father Petrovich told me that there aren't too many paladins anymore, and especially not in Barovia. But I always thought it'd be cool. And he has like a ladle in his hand, and as he's talking, he's like kind of waving it back and forth like a sword. He's like, I always thought that'd be cool uh, to be a cleric or a paladin to strike back evil and I don't know, be strong like Milovash.
But at this point, he's gonna take a shot. He backs up, like gives himself maybe a good 3 or 4 feet between him and the kid, and kind of kneels down and kind of goes like this to him, try to give him a sense of like, even though he obviously isn't gonna have any context, that he'll be able to make the connection.
He kind of like touches his hair, like
And then he hears in his head, "Is it okay if I speak with you like this?"
this kid's face initially is kind of surprised, and then his mouth opens super wide, as do his eyes. And he's like, that's so cool. He's
Okay,
like,
good. I'm glad.
you can talk in my head? Wait, can you read my mind?
No, I can't. I do have the ability to extend the telepathic ability to you so that you'd be able to speak with me in your head rather than using your mouth.
Whoa.
So that way you can carry on a conversation and no one's able to hear what you're talking about.
Oh.
I took a vow of silence 15 years ago, but I only extend that to physically speaking. Conveniently, I have the ability to talk to people in their minds, as
Wow.
long as they don't find it too unsettling.
That's cool. And you've always been able to do that?
Yes and no. I came to understand it after some time. It wasn't readily apparent to me. It's not something that my mother was able to do, so it was new to her as well.
What part of Barovia are you from?
I'm not from Barovia. I'm from outside of Barovia.
Oh, you're one of. We always just call them wanderers or adventurers.
An adequate description.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that you're able to help my friends.
Speaking of which, would you mind telling me what happened there? We haven't actually had anyone tell us about your friends. I'd like to know more.
Oh, well, and he kind of blushes a little bit. He's like, "You met Milivo, right? The grave digger."
Briefly,
Well, he's my older brother, and he's always looked out for me, but he also looks out for all the kids in the orphanage too. Well, I I help the um I help father out as an altar boy in the hopes of maybe being a priest or a cleric later on. But I still have friends in the orphanages that we hang out with, but there's three of them that they haven't been able to find, at least for a while.
3 kids from the orphanage went missing.
Yes, uh, Hans, Franz, and Laszlo.
Was this at the same time?
Yeah, I think they ran away from the headmistress. They always said that she was really mean and that they were going to escape and make their own way.
You
I
found
think
she can be
that's
hard
all.
on the children there?
That's what they said. Father Petrovich said uh, that Mistress Claudia has always been tough but fair with the children. But I still miss them. They've been gone for probably a day or two.
A day or two, because 48 hours is the cutoff point. Okay.
Those are just the
Um,
most crucial.
could you give me a description of them? So my friends and I can keep our eyes open for them as we travel the town.
Um, I guess they're around my age. They're so less than 10. Um, dark hair like mine. I don't know. I never really thought of having to describe them. Everyone just knows who they are. They look like most kids here.
What were their names again?
Oh, Hans, Franz, and Laszlo.
Well, rest assured, my friends and I will keep an eye out for them. We'll do our best to find them. Hopefully, it's
Thanks.
as you say, and they simply just ran away, and before long, they'll realize that they had it better in the shelter. This place
Yeah,
seems nice enough, but it's hard for a child to make their way by themselves, even if there are 3 of them.
yeah. Um, yeah, that makes sense.
Do you know any places that they liked to hang out, apart from the orphanage?
No, we would just kind of play around town, but they like to keep them inside the orphanage mostly just because um, it can be pretty dangerous around here.
The guards don't seem to think so. all is well and whatnot.
Milivo says that's nonsense.
How so?
I don't really understand it, but um he he says that the burgomaster is he says the burgomaster thinks that he does more than he actually does. But I don't know. He said that I'm kind of too young to understand it, so he won't explain it all.
Well, you seem to be doing a fine job here.
What was your name?
Konareth.
Konareth. Oh, thanks, Konareth. It's nice to talk to someone new. I mean, do you call this talking still?
Yes. My only form of communication, so I'm not sure what else I'd call it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys will stay a while. I know the festival's in a few days, and then we have the feast in a little over a week. We've been prepping for it for a while.
Konareth kind of, while he's talking, goes back to wash more dishes to continue finishing up. A new feast day, you say?
Yeah, Father says it's the feast of Saint Andrew. Says it's really important. We have to do it every year. It's not one that the burgomaster is putting on. It's a religious one.
Well, the feasts are a very important time of year. Cause a lot of positive self-reflection.
Yeah, I remember some of them from the previous years, but I don't know. They call it a feast, but I think it's just really small, like a funeral would be.
Well, if my friends and I are here, you can be sure we'll take part. Bolster your numbers a little.
Yeah. Um, what did happen to your arms? Now that you can talk.
Oh, it's just an accident that happened to me a while ago.
Okay. Just looks like it really hurt.
No, surprisingly, it didn't.
Mm.
I keep my gloves on most of the time, so most people don't notice, but it's no fun having soggy gloves.
Mm. Well, we're almost done. Uh, Honestly, I could probably finish up from here if you want to get some rest. I know Father said that you were traveling most of the day.
Well, I'm glad I could help. If you think of anything else you'd like to let us know, feel free to tell us.
Okay. Thanks.
And
Actually, can I hold your hammer?
sure. Konareth goes over and picks it up and, like, kind of holds it out to let him pick it out of his hands because it's going to be very heavy. So he's basically kind of like spotting him.
He comes over and grabs it, and he's like holding it across his chest. The head of the hammer is almost the size of his torso. Um, as he he's like, "This is really heavy."
Yes, it is. It's a great
Wow,
burden
you can swing that?
when I need to.
Wow, that's really cool. Thanks, Canareth.
No problem.
And he will go back to. There's just kind of bowls and stuff left over. You guys made pretty good work of it. There's not too many people they feed, and it was soup, so pretty simple cleanup.
And so Canary starts to make his way out of the room, and before he leaves, he obviously dons his shield and warhammer again and puts on his gloves. Reaches for the door and turns around and says, Yeska, right? It was Yeska?
Yeah.
And Yeska, it's all well and good being able to learn how to defend yourself, but don't feel the need to grow up too soon. There's a lot of difficulties and horrors out there that you might not necessarily want to face. Give yourself some time. You'll get there.
You can tell, like, he doesn't really respond. He kind of gives like a short nod and goes back to finishing cleaning up the dishes. It looks like he is thinking pretty profoundly on what you said.
And Quinarith leaves.
Okay. So, Konerth, you leave this back room. You see that Father Petrovich is speaking with Milivo near the altar, and kind of gives a blessing to Milivo, who walks off to the side and out the exit over on this side of the church. As he's leaving, Milivo kind of looks at you, and he gives kind of a throaty cough, with, you can tell, like, some congestion as he's walking out, of the church. Now, I believe at the same time, Graves, you were wanting to wander the city a bit and
Yeah, he had
try to
left
find,
this.
yes.
Try and find that alley.
Man, you guys split the party way up. Holy.
Oh yeah. Like, all right, everyone's coming back. Oh no, I'm leaving.
Yeah, Reno, just write 3 different like scenarios for each person.
Yeah,
You know.
jeez, come on.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that it's bringing up, like, specific information. It's not like 3 separate combats.
Yeah, I
3
was gonna say
separate
there should also
combats,
be
like,
3 separate combats as well.
like, well,
Yeah.
when you have 3 separate, like, when you have multiple sets of combat, the people who aren't involved in that combat, it's just, you check out. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the way it is, and
With RP, like, I was just listening to the RP, so that's fine.
yeah, so it's like you're still learning information that you know that your player will learn eventually, or your character will learn eventually. But
Oh, I didn't tell you that I just punched a guard on the way back.
dude, okay, there are rules here. You might want to hold off. So,
There's gonna be any
not gonna
combat,
be
it's
like,
Graves getting mugged.
it's not going to be like our other campaign.
so
Oh, no.
Grave, or not Graves, so Curse of Strahd, like, if you guys, like, later on ever want to run a campaign, it is an anti-murder hobo campaign.
Oh,
There
man,
are
our other
so
campaign-
many things in here that just, like, if you murder hobo, you're not gonna have a good time. Like,
Oh
We're
man,
good.
our other
Like,
campaign.
it's
dealers that
great.
we
I love
fought-
it. It just, and it gives the DM a lot of agency to kind of shut down anyone that is trying to play that way.
Our other campaign that we paused, where we were all playing evil characters. Poor Reno dealing the fact that we were just a bunch of highly trained murder hobos
No,
leaving.
to be
one
fair though,
path
that
and
was the
we're-
point of the campaign. I'm
Yes,
okay with murder
exactly.
hobos. I'm not as much of a fan of is when people purposely try to derail campaigns.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
when that's kind of like you guys were all evil villains,
It was
like
the point
you
of
were,
the game.
it was
Yeah.
kind of the point of it. So when you guys killed someone and then killed 4 other people to cover it up, and then just yeah,
And it
like
just
it
kept
just
going.
was part of it. Like, it just,
Gotta
Killed
do.
When you-
60
but-
When you
guards.
turn into a wind turbine and just shred a drunk
But,
man apart. in an
like, you guys
alleyway.
hadn't played too far in that campaign afterwards, but there are, like, things that I implement that there's going to be, like, bounties, things like that, that's like you do have consequences for those things. But
There's
that's
gonna
all
be
part of the
bounties
campaign.
on us.
That's a problem for
So
later.
that means
on.
Zakan, as a bounty hunter, I can now just turn on the rest of the party and make tons of money? Awesome.
It's
He
possible.
has no
but
allegiance to them.
That'd actually be a really
Anyway.
good deal for the people giving the bounty because it'd be like, oh, okay, just
He'll take
take
you.
it, not pay you, and then just trap you.
Does Zakan think he can take on
Yeah.
all three of us?
Oh no, not all three of you. But if I can corner somebody and then sneak him away.
We should
Yeah.
do whenever we get back. Not to derail this more, but like when we do eventually get back to moving back to that campaign, if we
Mhm.
continue recording, we'll have to have like some kind of recap written up and narrated
I mean,
because a
we could
lot of stuff
Huso,
happened.
Huso actually has the entire thing written out on D20.
Or most of it.
There
Yeah.
was
Oh, wow.
also is I joined partway through.
Like
And I
Cliff Notes,
basically
or
got that as Zakon like tracked you guys down to join the party.
I did it as a journal, like Huso journals to himself at night.
Yeah, so like pretty much every session he has on there.
oh wow,
Yeah, as a personal journal, like chronicling everything. Every so often I read through it. It's great.
Anyways, all the sidetracks. Maybe eventually you guys will get to see the second half of our villain campaign.
Yeah,
We're a
so
bunch of
there was
assholes.
another campaign that we had with Huso, a kobold druid who was a smuggler, and there was what's named this time, um, who went by a multitude of different names, played by Josh. He wasn't quite a warlock. He was a wild
Sorcerer.
mage sorcerer.
Who
Yeah,
else?
that was going warlock.
Then we had Thaddeus Audacious, who was a Tabaxi rogue assassin.
Bard too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, assassin, rogue, bard assassin, who was very much self-absorbed. With his looks, with his performance, everything. And then we had a
probably
latecomer
until
of
Zakan showed up, probably had the least conscience, and I would say him and Zakan are probably on par with that.
Oh yeah.
yes. Then we had Zakan, who was
Zakon of no
joined into the
Housework
campaign
Mentioning.
later as originally Norag King was not one of the members of this original party, and he came in as Zakan of no house worth mentioning, who was a dark elf.
Yeah, Drow noble bounty hunter. I had been reading the first book of the Driss trilogy, which heavily inspired Zakon.
I actually have that. Is it the Homeland? I haven't actually read
Yes.
it yet. Is it good?
Yeah, it's excellent. That being said, I'm a very slow reader, so I just started book 3. But
Well, anyways, enough
sorry,
sidetrack. So eventually, like, we kind of took a hiatus from that in order to go into Curse of Strahd. All of us have been DMs for a while. This one's notorious. I don't believe any of us had actually played through Curse of Strahd, and it's just one of those like bucket list campaigns to go through.
and we decided to put it on here for all of you guys.
Yep.
So, and also when we switched to Tailspire, there was a lot to change. So,
Yes.
that being said, Graves,
Yeah. back
you
to the
walk
actual
out
campaign.
into the cold night air, the fog around you. Let me turn on the fog for ambience.
Ooh.
There we go. The fog around you, the cold air entering into your lungs. The town is very much dying down. Now, Herbert, Onyx, you at the point that Graves is wandering around, you guys would be inside the inside with
The shop with
the
old
shop
woman.
when you're talking with her.
Cobbler shop.
Graves, you are walking through the graveyard right now.
Yep. See that? He'll walk out of the graveyard.
Graveyard.
Graves to the graveyard.
So
He finds his body.
Methodically,
as of now, nothing is looking really familiar to you. You can tell that these kind of back areas are mostly used just for the villagers to be able to move between the houses and everything.
In my
Um,
memory of the alleyway,
Mhm.
was it more Because the spot I just wandered to now, that looks more rundown kind of area. Would it have been more of the nicer type area, or more of like a rundown kind of
It
thing?
looked like it was a cobbled street, so definitely not one of
Okay.
these back areas. Probably one of, and it was a wider street, so likely one of the more main
Okay.
streets.
He will begin noticing that and then begin making his way back towards the main stretch.
And I'm going to kind of describe some of the town as you're passing by it, just for
Yeah.
kind of everyone's purpose, so that they can kind of get an idea of what this
Yeah.
place looks like.
Gary,
So,
I'm also just personally doing a quick bird's eye view so I can kind of determine his route.
so you pass by a large house on your right. It's much larger than any of the ones around you. You don't see any signs. You can tell it's obviously a residence of some type.
Would it make sense to assume that could be the Burgermeisters, or would I
You
notice
look
anything
at it
else
and you're
about
like, you look at this, you're like, oh, that must be a mansion or manor or some type of
Yeah,
someone important,
that's
but you
probably
don't know who.
okay. I'm gonna guess Burgermeister then. Be Graves' guess. I think he's gonna start heading back kind of towards the warehouse area.
Okay, you pass a house, place here. It has a sign. It says Blackwater Tavern. There is a sign on the door, and it is flipped to closed at this point. It's starting to get late. You see that there's like a window that they would open throughout the day. Looks like in order to serve food or whatnot.
That's cool. Because I see as I'm walking here, I notice there's different levels, kind
Yes.
of the city. What I've had from my one shot of remembrance, any indication if I was on an upper or lower? Like, could I see there was higher
You would
buildings?
not
Or
have a indication, um,
okay,
especially because these lower levels, the buildings are in height proportional to what level they are on. So the
okay.
buildings don't look higher or lower, depending on what level you are on.
I'm just getting stuck on things as I go.
Yeah.
Just
So
nothing.
as you're walking forward, you start to hear music and, well, not so much music as much as like chatter and people talking ahead. You can see off in the distance a sign here. It says Blue Water Inn.
Where is that one?
That one is up ahead here. This sign here.
Okay.
And then this building here is Blue Water Inn. Um,
Okay.
which you can see smoke billowing from the chimney. It's kind of a two-story. There's a large amount of ravens kind of perched on the gables, watching as patrons are entering and exiting. Um, and the sign is a picture of a waterfall swinging slowly in the wind.
I think Graves is gonna take this slightly back way, kind of aiming to kind of walk around this
Okay.
way.
As you walk around the corner, you see that there is a or a archway here made of wood, and you can see that across the archway in metal cast iron letters kind of nailed into it, it says St. Andrew's Orphanage.
Ah, I found the orphanage. Oh, I'm on the wall. Okay, that'll be good for gravestone for later, but right now it doesn't interest him. He's kind of wandered off the cobblestone a little bit here. He will kind of make his way back towards the main stretch. And then drag him instead of hopping the whole way. Excuse me as well. And so the street that he was on was kind of a more wider one. He might kind of head over to here, take a look down this way.
Roll me a
See
perception
if
check.
there. Perception check. It doesn't want to open it in Tailspire for some reason. So I'll just roll. Ooh,
Ooh.
20,
Okay.
22 right there.
You look straight down this way, and you can kind of like, it's a straight shot, like as you look down, and you see this roof here. And this straw roof looks familiar.
Graves is going that way.
Okay.
Just kind of walking through the fog, has his lantern kind of just half up as he's going.
Okay, stop. You stop here and you kind of look left or right. You see the stairs going down in front of you. And you have pretty high certainty that this was the spot.
From which of the two memories? Because there was two.
The one that initially brought you to Barovia. Can you remind me of what the second memory was? I'm not recalling.
There was one of Justice Street, and then there was the darker memory of the dagger.
The darker memory is what you are thinking of.
Okay. Can I get a sense of like where the point of view of that memory would have been? Like where I would have been standing?
So you are kind of like you're moving around, and one of the things you do remember is specifically being able to see this roof in the distance. So you know that you were facing this way.
Okay.
So
Probably like somewhere right around here. So
yeah, so you know, like you're like, okay, I was somewhere in here. I don't know if you can see me moving the
The cone, yeah.
Yeah.
cone. Yeah, because I figured that'd be the best way to kind of visually show it.
all right.
So
think
you know that it had to be like pretty much in front of these steps wherever it was.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
you don't think it was too much further back.
Grays would. I think he'd like to take a solid look around, like see if he finds any like markings on buildings that seem like could have been from that. Anything on the ground.
For sure.
Anything that could be left over from that. Basically.
Roll me an investigation check.
An investigation. Hopefully it rolls well. If I spend like half an hour or so, can I have advantage for spent taking time or?
You can. You'll be spending a half hour just looking this area over very thoroughly.
Yeah, I think that's what Graves would like to, because he wants. This is something very important to him, so I think he'd like to take his time. So, well, I mean, I rolled well on the first one, but I said I was going to do it, so I'll do it.
Yeah. Now, you can roll at advantage, and yeah, so you rolled about the same, so you can spend a half hour here to search around. So you are looking around, and as you are searching, you've had your fair share in your short time of battles, things like that. You saw quite a bit of um history of violence in Death House, so you kind of have an idea of what to be looking for. Now, you can see right here that there is like a mixture of dirt and cobblestone,
Mm-hmm.
but you get the sense that there was blood on the cobblestone here that was washed away, that there's still some of the staining from it, but obviously from quite a while ago, at least a month maybe.
Time to do a DNA test.
Do it.
Enhance.
Does it look like there are like people in these couple houses around me?
Let's see. So this is actually quite a few of these houses. Like there are some commoners. This one looks like it's more storage than anything. This one looks more abandoned. This one there might be some people in it, but it's pretty late, so there's not a ton of activity happening in them. When you look forward over here, this house is another one that looks like it's a manor of some kind. So definitely a larger home that you would be surprised if no one lived there.
There's a sign right there. Does it say anything if I go over and look? Or
It
is it just
does.
there for show?
So you look at this and you see the sign. It says, uh, Wachter House.
Wachter.
Yes, it's WACHTERHAUS.
Ah, very German. Ah, I think honestly, at this point, as long as it's not like midnight, Graves would probably go over and knock on the door.
Oh, you're knocking on the door.
I'm knocking on the door.
Okay. Now roll me a perception check as you're looking at the sign.
Yep.
Your grandmother greets you.
8.
Okay. It's pretty obvious, so it's pretty easy to see. It's kind of the same color of wood as everything else, so it's almost made to not be super visible. Underneath where it says Wachter House, there is what appears to be a family crest.
Hmm.
So I will share that. This is not one that I made. I just Google searched it.
That
I'm
makes
sharing that in the handouts now.
Join our Discord. That's kind of what I do now. And oh, oh my boy, my boy.
You see that
Oh,
underneath there? Does
Graves.
that change if you knock on the door or not?
No, I don't think it changed for Graves. He doesn't know what that is.
Okay.
I don't know
My
what that
boy.
is. So.
Let
Hey, Graves will
me.
knock. Boy, you were hard at work the last few days.
So,
Say,
I was
I'm
not
not.
expecting you to get to this point, to be knocking on the door immediately. So,
I
I'm
just
just,
happened to. Well, I was like, as soon as I got this area, I'm like, that's a big looking house. That's probably important. It's nearby. Let's go look.
At the Thieves Guild or something?
um,
Or
let's
worse.
see.
We'll have to see.
Okay. So, you, can knock on the door. Um,
Let's knocks on the door.
So you can see as you walk up that this front door it's locked and reinforced with bronze bands. It looks like it's pretty heavily locked. Uh, as you walk forward, it takes a moment, but you hear kind of scuffling on the other side of the door, and you see a woman open the door in kind of a bar, not a barmaid's, a like a milkmaid's like type servant dress as she opens the door. And she's like, "Yes, can I help you?"
Hello. My name is Graves. I'm part of a group of adventurers around, and I was wondering if in the past, if anyone living here in the past few months had run into a man like myself of a priest of the goddess Pharasma, in this vicinity right around this house. I have reason to believe something's happened here.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't know anything about that. Or-
There hap-
Is this something that can wait till morning? It's quite late.
hmm. I suppose it probably could. Would there be
I,
someone in the morning here that I could talk to if I came back tomorrow?
the My husband will. We usually offset. He would be more than happy to help you. He's a servant of the lady of the house.
Excellent. That would be great. Sorry for bothering you. I'll come back tomorrow.
Yes, and um, I but I may be speaking out of turn. I don't recall a cleric or anything uh coming around here. You
Oh,
probably
perfect.
best check the church.
Oh, I've spoken to the father already. I just have following up on some other leads I've discovered. But thank you, and you
Well,
Oh,
uh,
he
good
froze.
night. She
Oh,
closes the door.
have
Ye-
yourself anything. Graves actually probably doesn't, but Graves would like to see if he believes her, if
Oh,
possible.
yeah, roll me an insight.
Yeah, sorry, he froze and then just caught up.
Oh, let's see.
Oh,
Natural one. Yeah, I got no idea.
You have no idea
Yeah, Graves
if
is like, I
you're
don't know.
like, part of you's like, yeah, she's just a servant. She might not have any idea. And part
Yeah,
of you's like, don't trust anyone.
yeah.
So
It's
you have
also
no
like
idea.
one of my best skills, and I just rolled nat one. I love it.
Okay.
Well, with that, Graves will
Um,
be
as
slightly
you are kind of
disappointed.
continuing to search along here, you aren't really finding too many other clues per se. And you do see some guards kind of walk around the corner up ahead, and they kind of see you just kind of like, I don't know, like suspiciously looking
Oh yeah.
around the courtyard. And you're going to see them start walking towards you.
Hmm. Graves will, at this point, he was kind of feeling satisfied, or not satisfied, but like, oh, this is about it for now. And he'll kind of um, lean down as if he dropped something and just kind of like pick up, like he'll act as if he just dropped some coins or something, pick up, yeah, there they are, and just begin making his way back towards the church.
Okay.
Not directly
So
past the guards, he'll kind of take different routes, like over this way or so.
yeah, they're kind of walking from over this way. They were kind of
Oh,
coming from
that
the
way?
gate. You imagine that they
Okay.
probably closed up
He'll
the
kind of,
gate.
yeah, he'll probably go back in, like, closer, like, further into the town proper and head
So
back
kind of
towards
this
the
route.
church. Yeah,
Okay.
kind of up there. Maybe, like, take a side street.
Onyx and Herbert, you guys would be walking back to the church, and probably
running.
right around this intersection here,
Oh,
you would run into Graves, who is now walking back towards the church as well.
okay.
oh, Graves. There you
Oh,
are.
well, Onyx, good to see you. Pleasant
I
evening.
didn't. I guess, yeah. I mean, one of the most more pleasant evenings we've had recently, I suppose.
Yes, I would say so.
I mean, the old
Um,
woman still drives me crazy. Think she shouldn't be left alone.
Feel like that's an old woman thing.
I mean, she's in the city. I should hope that the guards would keep her safe.
Don't
Yes,
trust the
exactly.
guards.
I mean, I don't. I'm not sure we should speak like this on the street.
Yes. It's a safe enough environment to be able to take a stroll at night, as I just did, and that's good enough for me for the time being.
Yes, well, they do have an excellent irrigation system here, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, this again. And Onyx
Oh,
just starts walking
I've
off.
noticed it's that. I don't really have much knowledge of it, but I know it's in the wrong direction.
Please
yeah.
do tell me about it.
Oh, I've also happened upon another realization as we were speaking. I remember that, Madame Eva's first prediction, her first card that she drew for our future, our collective future, she mentioned a city where all is not well, which, sort of bears a striking resemblance to what's going on here. So, my guess is we should look for a house full of corruption.
Oh yes, it certainly does. Grace will be a little quiet. But I mean, my guess would be the burgomaster who is in charge, who lives right over here. Would be my
Yeah.
guess, and kind of point out the mansion. I also have lost connection to Tailspire, it seems.
Oh,
Huh.
unfortunate.
I'll try and get back in. Anyway,
No problem. We'll be
Grace
moving to
like,
the
yeah.
church here in a moment.
Well, considering there's only two
Um,
sizable sediments, I was thinking it could be here, but wasn't sure. But if you think as well, that's a good bet.
Yes, I
um,
think it could be. And I think your instincts are right, heading for the top is usually where you'll find most corruption.
Yes, and the most danger.
Yeah, that too. But we can be sly about it.
Yes.
Just we'll have to make sure that Onyx, you understand that we can't just outright accuse them of being corrupt because that would sort of set off their alarms.
This is how we end up at the gallows.
Stealth mode. Got it.
Pointed but fair.
In fact, what might be useful is if we go to have a conversation with him and you sort of sneak off, or you never show up for the meeting in the first place and you sneak in some other way.
I never show up.
I mean,
I know.
well, no. Like you could just do a stealth mission.
Might be most helpful if you're just never seen.
if you just don't go.
Don't talk to anybody.
You're not seen nor
Don't
heard.
talk to anybody.
Well, just in this one case, when they could chop our heads off. I mean,
Okay.
you may not believe me, but I also struggle with social norms quite a bit. I've just had a lot of time to practice. There's sort of a system that you have to go by, and you just gotta learn new rules kind of every day. That's kind of how it works. One of those rules is that you don't mention a woman's age if they're over 30, or you even think that there's a possibility that they might be remotely close to 30.
Why? It's just your age.
I don't understand why it's such a problem, but I just know that it is.
People don't like to feel old.
Why not? Doesn't that
Actually-
mean that you are lucky or graced by the gods because you've survived where many others haven't? Wouldn't that
yes,
be
certainly,
a
People-
thing of pride for people?
I mean, yes and
Yeah, I
no,
suppose.
because people tend to look down on the old because they are getting their bodies are wearing out to their minds and what they used to be, and they're closer to death than they once were.
So you guys arrive back at the church. Doors are not locked. You're able to kind of open them up. You hear Father Petrovich kind of doing his evening prayers. Different people are kind of helping lay out, like, not cots as much as just bedrolls for everyone to kind of be able to sleep on. And you see that Irina is over here with some people kind of getting all settled. She looks like she is starting to settle in, like, with the people, that she doesn't look as uncomfortable anymore. You guys arrive back. You see that Konerith, are you doing evening prayers as well? Or are you?
No, you might. Konerith is just kind of sitting to himself off to the side, his shadows being cast in front of him because of the candlelight behind him, and he's just staring down into it quietly.
Right, and with that, we are going to take a bio break. As Father Petrovich kind of sees you, he's like, "Good, you're all back. I needed to talk to you all privately, if you're available." And we will return
Yes.
on that note after our bio break.
Sounds good.
All right. See you shortly.
Hello and welcome back to our live stream of Curse of Strahd. We are going to be continuing with Father Petrovich, who is requesting to have a private audience with the party. As in regards to some of the conversations that had happened earlier in the evening. If you guys don't have any protest, he's going to lead you to his office over here. Or I should say quarters. It's not furnished, but it's very simple quarters with a basic bed, a small desk, things of that nature. It looks like this is
I have lost control of my token.
very simplistic. You did? Is that better?
Yeah, I don't have access to it anymore. It
Weird.
disappeared. Oh, now I do.
Okay. So, Father Petrovich closes the door and he's like, I apologize for all of the secrecy, but it's not too often that we get clerics or men of gods in town, let alone multiple at once. So I figured it'd be best for me to seize the opportunity where able. Did you all find what you were looking for in Vallaki?
Starting
What was that?
to.
I'm still curious as to what about this town keeps Strahd at bay.
Yes. I guess jumping right into the thick of it. You ask a very deep question that many debate in town, but it cannot be as openly debated as you would like. My brother-in-law can be very forceful with his beliefs, and I do not wish that you would bring harm to yourselves on that front.
Is your brother-in-law the Baron?
The burgomaster, yes. Baron Vargas Valakovich. He married my sister. But that was many years ago. So you have seen the posters for the festival coming up, correct? In 3 days?
I have.
Yes, well, whether rightly so or wrongfully, it's the burgomaster believes that the festivals keep the people happy. And the happiness, or the hope, is what keeps Strahd at bay.
I have a feeling you don't believe that.
Nonsense. While the Vallakovich family has ruled Vallaki for as long as living memory of anyone in the city, Strahd has left it alone much longer than that. The history that is passed down verbally from my predecessors states as much, but it seems that Vargas makes his own history. Please, I beg of you, I think it goes without saying, but do not spread the information I am telling you.
Oh, of course not.
It could end poorly for myself or for you four. Vargas enjoys being in control of all things in his life. I see it even with my sister, that unfortunately she has lost some of the free spirit that she once had from when we were younger. Do I know you're new to Barovia based on our conversations? Are you familiar with who Saint Andrel is?
I am not. No.
I am not either.
Saint Andrel was a worshipper of the Morning Lord. He was the one that started this church, and he started it in the same years that Strahd first visited the valley. He was one of the few that opposed Strahd in the beginning, and actually stood up for the people of Vallaki, and actually held Strahd at bay. Unfortunately, time took him away from this land, but the church is still consecrated, and still keeps evil forces at bay. Every year we reconsecrate it at our feast of St. Andrew in about a week's time. The town has began to be more and more stretched. I haven't seen it this tumultuous in quite a time. And I'm worried if the Feast of St. Andrew does not go well, of what the implications will be with the beasts that bark at our doors. In about 10 days' time, will you four help me keep the peace so that I can once more consecrate the ground that protects Vallaki?
I don't see why not. I would like to observe this.
Yes. It is a simple ritual. In the past, it would have been filled with feasting and dancing. I think that's where the idea of these festivals holding Strahd at bay came from. But over 600 to 700 years, those rituals become myth and then myth into legend. And people misinterpret those things.
So you've been doing this ritual all along, or you?
Every year at the Feast of St. Andrew. Yes. In commemoration of the day he died. His relics protect us.
Canareth pipes up to everyone, but the priest. I don't know how valid this is about keeping Strahd at bay, but any advantage that we can discover against them would be very helpful.
I've never had the opportunity to witness such a ritual myself, so I wouldn't mind learning what it's all about.
When Conair spoke in her head, you see Graves almost jolt slightly, as if he had been kind of losing focus, and then kind of just suddenly Conair said his head. He's like, "What? What?"
In 10 days' time, yeah, I mean, I suppose we could make that happen. We don't have any concrete plans as of yet.
Yes. I'm getting thrown off with the time of day. It's a little less than a week from the Blazing Sun Festival.
Which is in 3 days.
Yes. I think he placed the Blazing Sun as a replacement. And he says this with a point of disdain, and he almost kind of shivers of disgust. He's like, as a replacement for worshipping of the Morning Lord. But I do not believe that it will be sufficient. Most people know that the church's ground is holy and it helps. I don't believe that over time people. I believe that people over time have kind of forgotten how important it is for the safety of all of the residents of Vallaki.
I mean, it seems valid to me that this could be some sort of bastion of holy power. I mean, obviously, Strahd hasn't molested it in quite some time, so, the story holds up as far as I can tell, so I can't see any reason why we shouldn't help you.
Yes. Um, if you do help, we have quite a few stores that I would be able to reward you handsomely. Um, for the assistance, small price to pay for the safety of the residents for the next year.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, we're not doing too bad, but, obviously, I can I could actually make a quite a return on investment with a lot of capital. But,
Mhm.
we obviously don't want to put you out or anything like that.
In my particular field, food and supplies go much further than gold and silver.
Uh,
Or I should say gold.
Hey, Father,
Yes,
do you know anything about, like, maybe a god or goddess that deals in keys?
keys. No, I can't say that I have. Why do you ask? I do not know of too many gods outside of the Morning Lord and Our Lady Night.
I'm not going to mention the others, just pull out mine. I had a vision of me hanging at the gallows, and when I approached my body, this key was hanging from around its neck. When I took the key, my body disappeared, but the key remains.
A strange god that would work in such visions. But may I?
I handed it over to him.
He kind of looks it over. He's like, seems a simple key. I'm not familiar with this as a holy symbol or hearing of this being passed along. You are the first adventurer to ever ask me a question regarding a key. But I do know that these visions are not uncommon in the lands of Barovia.
No?
No. The mist play tricks on many people.
So you're telling me it could be Strahd that gave me this vision and key?
Perhaps.
That what I'm gathering from you?
And a Strahd or the Mist, they could be one and the same, but we don't know that for sure.
Perhaps. I do not know much when it comes to that. Many of that is kept secret. Many of the specifics behind his story is kept secret. That which he does tell, I would imagine, would only be those that do not have long enough or are not brave enough to pass the tale along. But I have no idea what this could mean. The biggest thing I would say is tread carefully.
Well, thank you.
He hands the key back to you.
I again put it ever around my neck. back into my pouch.
Herbert is fidgeting with his chest, but not pulling the key out.
What do you know about Strahd and his history? Like, how did he come to be? We passed another set of gates on our way here. So, I mean, based on what I can, deduct, is that the area of his control expanded?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, the Devil Strahd, he's, he is a vampire. He,
He is the land.
yes. That I don't know the specifics of. I believe it was some ancient ritual where he is the land, as he is the lord and master of it, and I believe at one point he was just a normal lord, someone who managed the burgomasters of the villages. But unfortunately, that has long been lost to history, or I should say, hidden in history, as I don't believe that Strahd wants too much knowledge of his own beginning to be
I mean,
known.
I don't know how much weight it might possibly carry, but we did hear a story from the Vistani who brought us here. Said he was
Oh,
a prince and he was injured, and the Vistani cared for him.
it is said that when the Vistani tell you the truth, it sounds like lies. And when they tell you lies, it sounds like the truth.
Mm.
Who knows if what they told you was the truth? Who knows if it even actually portrayed to the Devil Strahd?
Who could tell? They are a sort of
His
what's the word?
name denotes that he was nobility of some kind. For when someone has Von within their name, it's the land that they come from. But I have no knowledge of a Zarovich.
I see. I mean, he certainly does have the bearing of a lord, as far as I can tell.
Yes. But we in Barovia believe that the Devil's Strahd was placed as a curse on this land. I don't know what sin someone in the past must have committed to bring such a devil up on our doorstep. But it must have been grave indeed.
Whoever would beset a curse based off of the sin of one person to make an entire country or countryside suffer, certainly an awful being.
Mm, yes, but I think that any god that you look at has instances of that. When you have a god that lives for so long, the short lives of mere mortals is a very small price to pay. 1,000 years to them is as a day to us.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not my perspective. Gond is sort of unique in the pantheon in that he sort of loves
At
humans
this
and
point,
sort of
Onyx is
sort of-
like, "Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh."
oh right.
I've been this road. It doesn't end well.
But I would imagine that our perspective would be different. I don't know what your home was like that you left, but I have known nothing but the land of Barovia.
Well, you know, it does happen. I'm not gonna say it doesn't.
Onyx
But
kind of looks at the wall, kind of staring at nobody, and unfortunately, Barovia is not the only place where monsters rule.
I'm sad to hear that. But even if you do go elsewhere, I would recommend that as you camp along the roads, there are abandoned places that you can take over. Long lost farms, things like that. And I would take refuge in them. It is well known that while the vampire is extremely strong, they do have their weaknesses. One that is uh, well known is that they can't enter a residence without the invitation from one of the occupants or the owner of that home.
If they're abandoned, are they still owned by somebody?
I
Well,
mean, if you take it over and you are the residents.
I mean, yeah, if it's abandoned, then nobody wants it or has claimed ownership to it. So
uh, Or it
seems
may have someone there that you may be able to convince to house you for the night. But Barovians are not quick to trust. You will find more among myself, perhaps the abbot, and I believe Father Donovich is the priest in the village of Barovia. As fellow holy men, I believe that you will gain more from them, or at least be more quickly trusted.
yeah. I
What
mean,
are your plans in the meantime for the city of Vallaki?
well, for the most part, we're just sort of looking to get a lay of the land and um,
Oh, where's
what?
the jail?
A
Uh,
jail.
jail.
Um, there are stocks in the town square, but as far as the actual jail, I don't know exactly. People are dragged away, but they don't really let you know where they are kept. I'm assuming that you are talking about are concerned about the shoemaker.
Yes. Right, Herbert?
Um, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, he does sound like a bit of a woeful tale, if you ask me. Would wonder what that's all about. You said yourself that this Burgermeister may be taking some liberties with his authority.
Yes. Udo. mm, you can see that he kind of makes like a slight prayer symbol and he bows his head. Um, and he takes a look. Hold on one moment.
I'll sort of return gesture in my own way.
All of you understand. I do this with the utmost hesitancy, as I do not take lightly breaking the confines of confession. But Wilhelmina has come to me praying for her son to be released, and in my conversations with her, I'm not entirely sure that Udo was completely innocent. Obviously, he was rash and he brought the sign recommending that the village feed my brother-in-law to the wolves.
Yes, that's what she had said.
Yes, so that, of course, very clearly, but he was not just a simple shoemaker. Sister Wilhelmina has suggested that he was sneaking out, dark clothes, unknown location where he traveled to. I tell you for, as these are the signs of cult activity. Very dangerous to have. I've heard rumors of it, but that was the closest that I had gotten.
Well, like I said, we were eager to find out what actually transpired, so maybe even just a chat with the lad would be helpful.
Yes, but other than that, I don't have too much. Um, I'm sure that there will be people around town that could use help. Um, but don't be too surprised if people are suspicious of you.
Oh, we've certainly got our fair share of that so far, with a few
But
exceptions.
I beg of you, do not make much noise. There are eyes everywhere. One of the reasons I've kept a little bit of secrecy as we were meeting.
That is understood. There are a lot of guards about. With their masks, it's difficult to tell where they're looking exactly, too, so.
Yes. Is there any other questions you have for me?
I look to Konareth to see if he's gonna like ask us something to ask him.
At this point, Konereth has communicated with the priest.
Onyx
Mentally.
isn't sure though.
Okay.
Do you know any news about the three missing boys? Yeska seems concerned about them.
The priest's face darkens, and he's like, hmm.
Onyx turns to
Yeah.
open his mouth and then sees the priest. Understood. So he kind of steps back to Konareth and then back to the priest.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert's a little shocked to hear this, unless this isn't the first time you've told us about it.
I'm guessing this would be the first time.
Yeah.
So his face darkens, and he's like, nasty business, that. Unfortunately, I don't know much more. I have looked into it some in order to calm Yeska's head. He is friends with quite a few of the orphans, as he himself is one as well. He he has asked me about it many times in the past day or two, and I have asked the guards. The last time that they were seen, double check that right. The last time that they were seen, they traveled out of the north gate towards Lake Zarovich.
They managed to leave the town.
Yes, it's quite common for the guards to allow the children to travel. There's different fishermen like Bluto that are along the way, certainly would not be under the question for them to allow them to go fishing or swimming. They are children, after all, and it's not too far from the water. But they never returned. I questioned Yesek about it, and he said that the mistress was abusing the children. I've known her for many years. She has been firm, but never abusive. You could say that she cares more if the children have a good life than if the children like her.
Well, I'll likely make a trip out to see if there's any signs of them. Do you know if anyone's actually gone outside the gate looking for them?
Um, I'm sad to say that I don't believe anyone has. As terrible as it sounds, children are often lost in Barovia, and they're usually only missed by their parents, which these children did not have.
Do you happen
As I
to know their
said,
name?
yes,
Hans,
it's
Franz, and Lansdale.
yes,
Franz, and Laszlo?
yes. And there was a few different children at the orphanage, in the same age group, but I questioned them, and they didn't know anything, but that I could see. I think probably if you are going to search for them, I'm not sure if any of you have tracking capability. I would likely go out to Lake Zarovich and perhaps question Bluto. He is a fisherman that is along the lakeside.
Yes, well,
Honest enough if you give him wine.
mm, well, we do have some wine.
Wine is the lifeblood that flows through Barovia. If you are able to, I would gather much wine, or at least take wine, even if you don't drink it yourself. It will open up many doors.
I see. Well, um, yes, well, we were gifted a bottle, so we do have some, but where might we find more?
So, an interesting question. I would definitely check with the Blue Water Inn, um, but from what I've heard, it's become a little bit of a difficulty.
It seems problems abound here.
Yes, but I know that many the owners have come in Erwin Martikov. He has come over and asked if I had any communication with Kresk in order to know if there was wine being delivered or not. Supposedly, their latest delivery is overdue, but he might be able to give you more information and likely will ask for help if you are able to offer it.
Well, as long as it takes less than 10 days, I suppose.
Yes, well, the Wizard of Wines is in between here and Kresk.
I see.
Wizard
Okay.
of Wine.
Did want to stop by Kresk eventually anyway.
Yes. It is quite a sight From what I've heard, I was a young child the last time I visited.
I've just heard that there's a great saint or some sort of abbot.
Yes, the abbot.
The abbot.
Yes,
It's the only name he goes by.
that is all I know him by.
Can you tell me anything more about what you've heard about him?
The abbot is otherworldly.
He has been around a
Someone,
long time, yes?
yes, since before my father's father's time.
I mean, there are long living folk, like elves.
Yes, there are, and I can't speak to I can't speak to how long he has been living. Saw him once. Long white robes. Looked like he was wearing a mask of some kind. Not like the mask that the people here wear. More like just plain white mask with no expression.
Neutral expression.
I never spoke to him. I was much too young, and I only saw the glimpse when my father opened the door to enter.
See, you haven't heard anything about what goes on in Kresk or anything like that?
No, there is difficult communication between the villages here, and with most people, religious communication is very close to the bottom of the list of importance.
Understood. Well,
Most people only worry about trade and the like.
I mean, you have to do what you have to do to get by. Those.
Yes. But if you do decide to go to the Wizard of Wines, you leave Vallaki traveling towards Kresk. You get to the the Raven River crossroads. And there's a path off to the left. There should be signs though. Wizard of Wines is a very popular location.
Hmm.
I say it's on the way to Kresk. I think that south of Kresk would be a better description. It would be out of the way, and you would likely have to camp a night or two along the way.
Hmm. Well, no. How long would the trip be total to
Mm,
to Kresk?
to
You said a day,
Kresk?
or no? To Wizards of. Is it Wizards of Wine or Wizards Wine?
Wizard of Wines.
Wizard of Wines.
Yes.
I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to offend them or anything. But yes, you said it would be a day or two camping out in order to get to Wizards of Wine. Wizard of Wine. Wines.
Yes. I'm he is like let me think, but me I'm like let me plug it into my calculator here. Um so we have Town of Vallaki to the Wizard of Wines. Ooh. Okay, so not as much as I originally thought. So let me rephrase that. Yes, night or two on the road there and back, I should say. Um, if the road can be a little rough, so it'd probably take you about half a day's full journey. to get there.
So if we start early,
Um,
we could get there early. Figure out what's going on. Maybe stay nearby or there.
Perhaps I'm not too familiar with the lodging. It would probably be better to ask. Um,
They have a representative here at the Blue Water Inn.
Not at all. They mostly work with the Martikov family and the other tavern keeps, but Martikov by far the most.
Martikov. He's who is that?
The Martikov family is one of the older families of Barovia. They're close to the same age as probably uh, the Valakovich family or the Wachter house family or the Wachter house.
Doctor House.
Graves will. He's not been paying too much attention, people wise, but as soon as his Walker has Graves kind of just like suddenly is paying
Yes.
attention again.
The
So not familiar with either of them.
Yes, there's a few families. Obviously Martikov, the Wachters, and Vasily. They're families that are quite old here. Um, and my brother-in-law's family, the Vagovich, they have been here quite a long time, as far back as I can remember. Um, Vasily is not as well known as a family as much as an individual, as he doesn't have any heirs.
Hmm. Vasily is a member of which family again?
Vasily, von Holtz,
Vasily.
I should say. Uh, Vasily von Holtz.
Vasily von
He's
Holt.
yes,
It's his
von
own
Holtz
family.
fan. Yes, um he and his forefathers they've been treasurers for the town. They help handle and count the money and help with paying taxes to the burgomaster and things like that. Uh I think he says he likes to call himself an accountant.
Hmm. Well, I can't say I've met their type before, but I've certainly heard of them.
But yes, so uh as far as the families go, there is, as I said, the Valakovich family, which has been the rulers of the town. It is my wish that eventually we move to more of a voting system so that one family doesn't remain in power for centuries as it has been happening.
Doesn't really make much sense, to be honest. Kind of like the system they have in Waterdeep, much better.
Oh,
I mean, it has its flaws, obviously, but at least it's a little bit more transparent and accountable to a certain extent.
yes. Well, the Wachter family, just as old as the Volakovich family. I would tread carefully around them. Lady Fiona does not hide the fact that she is a staunch supporter of Strahd.
Mm.
It can be difficult, but they hold influence. That there are people who don't completely disagree with them, and they think that the cruelty of the Baron is much less than the cruelty that they would feel under Strahd. Strahd can be cruel, but he is disconnected.
As long as his attention doesn't turn here.
Yes.
His supporters of Strahd, the doctors, then, do you suspect they would do more than simply voice their opinions?
I don't know. I I don't know very much about the personality of Fiona. She has never been a churchgoer. I know her by name and reputation, but little more than that.
Herbert's mind is racing, so he's fallen very silent.
Yes, Graves is now beginning to kind of look like he's losing focus again and kind of going elsewhere.
I apologize. I have talked your ears off when you are probably looking very forward to your beds. I will
Oh,
allow you to go to sleep if there's nothing else.
that's quite all right. You know, we're used to it at this point. I do appreciate your gracious offer of lodging tonight, and I believe we will take you up on it.
Yes, of course. Might, as I said, Blue Water Inn would likely offer you a bit more comfort, but uh, I am okay with you staying here as long as you would like. Um, for that, if I can make a suggestion, do what you would like, as far as uh, in the town. But I would recommend being here for the festival of the Blazing Sun, so you can make your own judgments of my brother-in-law and his management and ruling of the city of Vallaki.
I mean, I agree. Um, yes, I think we will take our leave now.
Well,
Just
if you need anything or need to know where to find something, you have only but to ask.
thank you very much.
Please, sleep well. I had them set aside 4 extra bedrolls for you. You should be able to find them easily enough. Just look for the one without bodies in them.
Do you happen to have a bell
A
tower
weird way to word that.
balcony?
Sorry, what was... I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
Who said?
Graves? I didn't hear what
I,
Graves said.
It was like, do you happen to have a balcony or a bell tower somewhat up high? Just feeling.
Uh, yes, if you need to speak, I can do confession. Is everything alright, my friend?
I may have one question for you, but I also was just thinking of taking a moment in the air, but I may have one more question for you before as well.
Well, we do have the belfry. Um, you may be able to crawl up there, but it's open to the night sky. It's not super tall, but it would be taller as the tallest in this building.
That would be great if I might take some time there, but I will ask you
Yes.
one question first in private.
Um, yes, of course. He kind of looks at Onyx, who would, he's like, um, did you have another question for me as well?
Out of game, what does I've checked my notes and I apparently didn't write it down. What does
Mhm.
Strahd call Irina?
Tatiana.
Tatiana, yes.
Yes.
Tatiana.
I know I wrote it down somewhere. I just can't seem to find it right now.
No worries. It was probably a while ago.
I would ask. I would turn to him and um. We've also heard the name Tatiana. Know who that may be?
It's, I can't say. This is, um, I'm not familiar with the name. I can't say that I've ever heard anyone name that, uh, Barovia, not in my lifetime.
Hmm. Heard it in passing and was told maybe find them in Vallaki, but you haven't heard of them. I doubt we'll find them.
Yes. I would recommend if you're going to ask anyone, um, it would be normally I would have pointed you to speak to. Let's see. Normally I would have had you speak to Herod, but unfortunately he is no longer with us. He
Oh.
instead I would recommend that you go to the Janovics and Sons. It's a bookstore in town. It's been here longer than anyone can remember. But Herod, the town historian, used to spend days and nights recording history of Vallaki in there, and would often talk to Janovic Sr. If anyone was to know of names and genealogies, it would likely be them.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Herbert
Right.
is out in the hallway with Canareth, and he sort of turns to him and he's like, I'm quite concerned about those missing children. I know it's really late, but like, how long have they been missing?
2 days.
Oh,
So it would have been today would have been the second full day.
48 hours.
hmm.
That's
Cold
all.
case.
The first 48 hours.
I don't like that, but I don't think it would be safe to traverse at night anyway, so
Likelihood of finding children at night probably wouldn't be too high either.
I'm just very disturbed by it, is all. But I suppose it'll have to wait till tomorrow.
I do think it's fair to say that it should be the first on our priorities, though.
I agree. I agree. It's the one with the shortest timetable by a long shot.
It is getting late. I will speak to Graves and then I will be also turning in.
Yeah,
Alright.
I would join the others out in the hall. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I would close the door and then, like, what was your question, my child?
We spoke earlier of this other Pharasman priest that you had met a few months prior,
Yes.
and how I've seen, I believe, his face in the mirrors. But not this one. But
Yes,
I
I recall.
you said he disappeared. Be seen.
Yes,
Did
he.
You have mentioned the Voctive. Do you know if he had any contact with them?
I do not recall.
I think I have reason to suspect that he may no longer be among the living, and that it occurred very near to the Voctor house.
These are strong allegations.
I cannot
I would.
say if it was them or not, but I believe something happened in that area. As I believe I mentioned prior, I seem to have memories of this man. And I found evidence of blood. Old blood, but blood within a few months in the soil nearby. Directly where I remember a memory of that dagger I showed you.
Hmm. Yes, I have not heard this. I just know that he. I never heard from him again. But As I said, with adventurers, that is not uncommon in the least.
What about with priests as well, adventurer or otherwise? Do you
Not
find?
uncommon in the least for them to
Hmm,
never show up again.
all right.
The
I think
Devil's Strahd does not suffer trespassers.
he certainly doesn't. And it's been strange connecting with the gods in a place like this.
Yes.
Well, I
Do
think I may
you
have
have
to go
any
ahead.
further questions I can assist with?
If I may, a slightly more personal question. With how things are in this land, how do you continue to serve as this priest here, despite not hearing from the Warring Lord?
That is a deep question.
I understand if you don't wish to answer, and I know
It's
when
not that I do not wish to answer, it's that I don't know if we have the time. It is quite late.
that is all right.
Tradition plays a large part of it.
That's fair. And we spoke briefly of Father Donovich of a similar topic. Well, I will thank you very much, my friend. I will leave you for the night. And I have my suspicions as to what has happened, but I will not act rashly.
Yes, I would recommend that. There are eyes everywhere. Be
Oh,
careful.
I lost my token. Oh well. Graves
And
was
with
worth
that, we
I
are
like
going to end the session there tonight. We went a little bit over, but
hey.
wanted
Graves
to
would
finish
like
those
to
conversations out.
go up to that bell tower as well.
We'll start the next session there, and then we'll be going into a rest for daytime excursions into the land of Barovia. Obviously, there's going to likely be some exploration um, going on, but I understand if you guys want to converse before bed, and we'll do that in the next session. Now, before we all go, I do need Onyx, Herbert, and Conereth. Actually, all of you guys to roll a d6.
Six.
Okay, so add that for your luck points. So for luck points, Onyx did the recap with us. Herbert kind of jumped in immediately when Onyx had mentioned that
Talking with them.
he was just talking with him, and you just immediately went to this tirade about irrigation. Graves kind of doing the research discovery, and then Conereth with the the conversation with Yesek. All was great role play, nice little RP session to break up the combat that we've been having.
This is a dangerous place.
So we will return to Vallaki to see where the cards lay as we enter into here to see what political intrigue lies before us.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Oh, so,
Right
Are
on.
we
Are we live still?